Hi, everybody. It's Eric Murray from the SugarHuddle.com. Well, the Houston Texans, they started 0-3. Looked like it was going to be a nightmarish season after a lot of people thought they were one of the sexy picks of the AFC, and some even thought maybe they'd get to the Super Bowl. And suddenly, out of nowhere, they've now won 8 in a row. They're the first team in NFL history to start 0-3 and then win their next 8 games in a row. And they had a really tough matchup because, as much as the Tennessee Titans struggled in their last game where they played the Colts, it was still one of those situations where it's a team that's getting better and better. And even in this one, the Titans actually started off with a 10-0 lead in Houston, Monday Night Football. And, it looked like, okay, maybe this is the night that the Texans streak ends. Tennessee, they drove down, got a quick field goal. Then they got a long touchdown on a Marcus Mariota, Jonnu Smith pass. Smith was caught it right over the middle, parting the seas. There was nobody down the middle of the field, and he was just able to race in the end zone. He's a heck of a young athletic tight end, really a matchup problem. And he's a guy that's going to continue to get more and more touches and more opportunities the rest of the year, and especially into next year and beyond. So he's somebody to look out for. But anyways, Smith scores a touchdown. Suddenly it's 10-0, and then Houston, to make what seemed like a nightmarish start even worse, they fumble the ensuing kickoff and they barely recover it. So anyways, they luck out there, but then they settle down, and Deshaun Watson leads them down the field. I believe it was a touchdown to Demaryius Thomas, something like 12 yards, put him on the board, made it 10-7, and then they were able to take a 14-10 lead when Watson, they get to the 15-yard line and completely fakes out the defense, does a quarterback keeper to the left, nobody even close, and he's able to walk in for the score. And then what really busted open as Tennessee's offense, really started to finally get going again after a couple of down possessions. The Titans drove, I think, 72 yards in 8 or 9 plays, and they found themselves a fourth and short at the 3-yard line, and they decided to gamble and go for it. Mike Vrabel, he's shown that as a rookie head coach, he's going to gamble a lot. Remember in London a while back when they played I believe that was the Philadelphia Eagles. No, actually, that wasn't the Philadelphia. That was the Chargers, the LA Chargers. In London a while back when they played the Chargers, remember they scored late to pull within 21-20. And they decided to try to go for 2 in the final minute and see if they could try to win the ball game. And they missed on the throw, unfortunately, for Marcus Mariota's bad throw, and so they couldn't get the onside, and they ended up losing that game. But Mike Vrabel, like some of these other coaches that we've seen, are not intimidated in this league to really kind of stick their neck out and roll the dice. Obviously, Pete Carroll, Riverboat, Ron Rivera. Well, here's now a new coach that is going to do what he thinks is best, and is going to not get intimidated and really show a lot of confidence in his offense. And they tried to go for it on 4th and short. They couldn't get it, and ultimately Houston takes over at their own 3-yard line. Opportunity lost for the Titans to get back. It would have been 14-13 if they would have settled for the field goal. Instead, it stayed 14-10. But then Lamar Miller, who was already off to a pretty solid start, he bursts through the line and wins a foot race up the right sideline, 97-yard touchdown. It was the longest touchdown run in the NFL since he had one a few years ago, I believe, when he was still with the Dolphins in 2015 or 16, and that one I think was also 97 yards. So he became first player in NFL history with multiple 95-plus yard touchdown runs, and it was a great run. And he's been in the league for a while now, but he definitely hasn't lost a step. It was a great play. And then eventually the Texans were able to kick a field goal before half. They bookended the first half and the beginning of the second half with a pair of field goals, make it 27-10. Kayame Fairbairn made all his kicks in this one. He's had a pretty good year for the Texans. And then, Titans, finally, they show some signs of life. They're able to cut it back within 10 later in the third quarter, cut it down to 27-17. But just when they think that they're back in it once again, what does Houston do? They eventually counter with a touchdown, another Demaryius Thomas score. And so, it was one of those deals where it felt a lot closer than the final score, but just one of those things that, with Tennessee, Marcus Mariota, he completed his first 19 passes, finished 22 of 23, had just over 300 yards, I believe 2 touchdown passes. but all of his passes were short passes. They were 10 yards or less in the air, like it seemed like all of them. I think through his first 16 pass attempts, I think 14 of them were 10 yards or less in length as far as him actually throwing in the air, and he had 2 down the field. And then right after they showed that stat, he went deep to Corey Davis. It was slightly underthrown. Corey Davis turned around, went back for it, and then was able to cut in and get the long touchdown. And that's what made it 27-17. But just too much Texans. Tennessee's defense, they did sack Deshaun Watson 4 times. Deshaun Watson did take a few hits in this one, but Lamar Miller, he had, I think, 162 rushing yards. Watson himself, I think, had something like 70. They had 281 on 34 attempts in this game. I mean, that's, you're talking about Tennessee Titans have one of the best, top 5 run defense, a top 5 overall defense, and you get 34 points against them. And, Deshaun Watson had a little over 200 yards. He was 19 of 24. I believe he also had 2 touchdowns, and then he also had the rushing touchdowns. They had 3 total touchdowns. You got to hand it off to these Texans because it was a great all-around effort. You got it done in the run game, you got it done in the passing game. Demaryius Thomas obviously got some opportunities. Tight ends got a little bit more involved than they have in the past. Ryan Griffin got a couple catches, but they got it done offensively, even with the sacks. And then defensively, even though you gave up 4 sacks, you ended up sacking Mariota 6 times. And, Tennessee's running game, they ended up having just over 100 rushing yards, but that was because Corey Davis in the fourth quarter had a 39-yard run on an end around. So you take that away, and they had something like 22 carries. I think they had 23 for 105. So you take that away, then it becomes like 22 for 66, 3 yards a carry. So throughout the game, the Titans only averaging 3 or 4 yards a carry, really limiting their offense to just dinking and dunking all the way, whereas the Texans, they were taking a lot of shots downfield, doing a lot of things in the running game. And that Texans defense, J.J. Watt, talk about an amazing comeback here for him. He had 1.5 sacks. He had a strip sack late in the game. Whitney Merciless also 1.5 sacks. And the defense lineman, Christian Covington, he's an up-and-coming young player, 2.5 sacks for him. So just a great all-around effort for Houston. And you look up their upcoming schedule. Look, Cleveland's no longer a lock win for anybody, but nonetheless, that's a game that Houston can definitely win. Then you have the Colts after that, which is a huge game, but beyond that, it becomes a fairly cakewalk type of schedule down the stretch. I believe they have, I think they have the Jets, and I think they have to play the Jaguars one more time. But anyways, and then I think they play an NFC East team like the Eagles maybe. So, Houston has a pretty manageable schedule the rest of the way. They have a chance to continue to keep this streak alive for a little while. I mean, obviously, the Indian game in a couple weeks, we'll see. But they're a hell of a football team. They're playing complementary football. The way they started those first 3 games, and the way they've played these last 8. Deshaun Watson's playing great football. Running game is starting to really step it up each week. But again, that defense is becoming that top 5 or 10 unit that they were in the past. As for Tennessee, they fall to 5-6, 2 losses in a row, 2 tough losses. This game obviously was much more competitive than the last one when they played Indy, but with that being said, they too have a pretty manageable schedule coming up, and they play kind of similar type of struggling teams as Houston's playing. So Tennessee still has a shot to maybe go 9-7 and sneak into the playoffs. Definitely won't put past them. Mariota, only the 1 incompletion, played real well, but again, you guys stretch the field a little bit more. Matt LaFleur and his offense, they're starting to really put it together. But, he runs 11 personnel to 2 tight ends, 1 running back. In L.A. with the Rams, they stretch the field quite a bit, a lot of intermediate stuff. They're going to have to do that more to really expand this offense. Corey Davis, though, he's really starting to step it up. So both teams, I think, are still in really good shape. Obviously, Tennessee has to get the wins, and they have to go on a little bit of a streak here. But Houston, all of a sudden, they're arguably the most dangerous team in all of football, and it's no longer just New England, Kansas City, Pittsburgh. Houston Texans, they might be the team that some people think is going to actually go to the Super Bowl, and who knows what happens when you get there. So anyways, please go to sugarhuddle.com. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also like my Facebook page, which is also the Sugar Huddle. Take care.